This genre is apparently called nature horror, but I just call it when animals attack.
85 minutes of us laughing, jumping, hooting, hollering, gory bang after gory bang after gory bang.
This is absolutely like watching Anaconda or watching a really B-movie horror film, right? And just yelling at the screen. Let's be real. This is not the best written thriller. It is
no. Hello, Happy New Year, listeners and viewers alike. Welcome to the new year and new episode of Watch Skip Plus. I am the WillDABeast. We got my buddy over here, the Cupcake.
Hey.
Welcome to our new episode. We got some new exciting changes that we're going to talk about, right?
Yeah, it's been a little crazy. We've been off for about a month now, I think. And,
yeah, almost.
And we're just kind of coming back. I think I've broken the curse because since we started Watch Skip Plus in 2022, each year I've had to get a new co-host. But Mike has broken the streak. This is his second year as a co-host with Watch Skip Plus. So that is pretty awesome. But again, we are trying to be the go-to source for insightful pop culture referenced movie reviews, and we are having a little bit of a format change. We will now be splitting off the spoiler free and then the spoiled episodes. So the plan is to pick a particular day of the week to release this spoiler free movie review of a new streaming or theatrical film, and then 2 days later, so we don't mess up the algorithm, those of you who dive deep into like YouTube, you know, if you post too much, it screws up the algorithm. But about roughly 2 days later, we will then give you a spoilered episode of the movie that we are reviewing. 2026, it's a brand new year. This is season 4. Mike, how have you been? Was your hiatus restful?
Yeah, I actually took time off work too. Saw a ton of movies, you know, caught up on everything that was in the cinemas pretty much. The only thing I missed that was wide released was Song Sung Blue. Kind of bummer. I wish I would have saw that, but I did miss that. But I caught all the other major releases that was released during the time period.
Did you see Avatar and the Blue People?
I did actually. Yep. Took my son to see it and we dug it. Yeah.
It was pretty cool filmmaking.
I thought it was better than the second, which spends a lot of time reintroducing people, like same as the first. Here's these fire ash people. This is why they are who they are. We're not going to give you an hour of diving in their world. Just boom.
You know who's bad. You know who's good. Let's go. Because that second one, that second one was a little miserable. So January, all bets are off. It looks like January used to be the cast-off month with crappy films coming out the tube. Now it seems to be flooded with genre projects. What are we reviewing for this spoiler-free episode of Watch Skip Plus, the first of season 4?
I'm excited for this because I've been waiting since Fantastic Fest, when my good friends and comedian Melissa Merlot goes every year. And she said, go and see Primate. So as soon as I got a release date and it was like January 9th, I was like, we're coming back and we're reviewing Primate. And you were like, okay, let's do it. So yes, we are reviewing the killer animal on the loose film Primate.
Yep, something is wrong with Ben, which is the sort of tagline for this, right? Ben is the chimpanzee. He goes a little crazy. So just the marketing of this, like Ben reminds me of Willard, reminds me of all of those animals attack genre films, right? Going all the way back to Roar, which probably has a better background story than it does like live animals attempting to like eat Tippi Hedren. It's amazing. But then we've also had other like animal horror films. What Night of the Lepus, was that one? I think it was. Potentially.
Zoo. There was one just called Zoo about killer zombie animals.
Yep. We had environmental horror like John Frankenheimer's Prophecy. Do you remember that? And Wolfen. And then the sort of like wink, wink, meta horror, guilty pleasures of like Bats with Lou Diamond Phillips and Dina Meyer, and Anaconda with Jennifer Lopez, which just got its own meta comedy remake.
Oh, I love that. What was the one where it was just a small little indie about a girl and her brother and a tiger? Do you remember this movie?
No.
I think it's called Bright. Gosh, I can't remember.
Actually, you know what? You might be right about that. I do know about the one where the guy fucks the leopard. I know that one. But has sex with the leopard. But anyway, so believe it or not, this genre is apparently called nature horror, but I just call it when animals attack, right? And the only one that comes to mind recently is Beast. We reviewed it. It was our second review on Watch Skip Plus. Idris Elba. It was directed by, I think, Balthasar Kalmas, I can't remember his name. I'm butchering it, but that was about the two lions going insane and trying to eat his family, right? Okay, so just really quickly, this is directed by Johannes Roberts. He's probably best known for another animal attacks film, 47 Meters Down, and then its sequel. He actually co-wrote that with Ernest Rira, who is the co-writer here as well. Johannes Roberts would also be known for sort of like low-budget, micro-budget horror films like The Other Side of the Door, Storage 24, which actually wasn't half bad. And then, of course, he attempted to reboot Resident Evil with Welcome to Raccoon City. Not entirely successful, so much so that Zach Kreger is now rebooting Resident Evil. But you know what? Resident Evil can't be killed, so good luck. Our DP is Stephen Murphy. Many will know him basically as the DP for Heart Eyes, which we reviewed. So he knows about genre. I know exactly that. He's also done a bunch of television shows like Atlanta, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Hannah, Line of Duty. Our music is by Adrian Johnston, collaborated with our director on the film Strangers Pray at Night. That's the other big film that Johannes Roberts is known for. And just so everybody knows, this is from a production company called 18 Hertz, and that was founded by Walter Hamada. Google that name, folks, because Walter Hamada was the once and future king of DC Studios. There, he got a little embroiled in something that got him excused, or rather the studio invited him to leave, as it were. But this is his genre horror outfit, and this is, I think, the first film that he's produced that's come out. Our cast is a bunch of unknowns, and I think that works because we're not expecting a big star to like get killed or anything like that. However, I will say the most recognizable star here is probably Troy Kotsur, who was in Apple Studios' Coda, and he is a deaf actor. And then speaking of incredibly hairy, like chimpanzees, Rob Delaney has a little bit of a cameo. At least I think that was Rob Delaney. Everything was so dark in this movie. I had no idea. Any comments about, first of all, the animal genre? Do you love that? Do you love when animals attack, like Grizzly, Day of the Animals, like that kind of thing? Is this your thing? Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, first one I ever saw was Cujo, right? We've heard that story, and that was one of the early horror movies for me, and I was like, I was sold. I've yet to get my hands on Roar. I hear it's better to just kind of be fond of the story than actually ruin it by watching the movie.
Yeah, true.
I've heard the movie's not all that great.
Yeah, but the documentary is pretty freaking amazing. Yeah. So funny that you mentioned Cujo, because I don't know if it's widely telecast or whatever, but apparently the reason why he goes violent is, in fact, the monkey gets rabies. So Cujo is pretty much the comp to this film. Whether people want to say Jaws or whatever, I think clearly Cujo is the inspiration. I will say that the lead, I think her name is Johnny Sequoia. I just kept looking at her and thinking, it's Demi Lovato. It's Demi Lovato with like blonde hair or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know that she's been in much, but she is really gorgeous. I don't know. I want to smack around the casting person because I hate to say it, other than the black guy, they all kind of looked alike. I was like, I don't know how to feel about this, but
just pretty people ready to be slaughtered. I mean, that's what it was. And they were fine at it, you know?
Yeah. For what it was, they did good. Another question, and then we'll head into our spoiler-free review. Johannes Roberts, are you a fan of his films? Did you like Resident Evil, 47 Meters Down? How did you feel about these?
I did not like Resident Evil, but I've liked most of his stuff. I actually love Strangers Pray at Night like so much.
I think it's pretty divisive.
That pool sequence, the way it's lit, the way it's shot, everything about that is one of my favorite kills in a modern day slasher film, like top 10 probably in the last 10 years.
Okay.
I love that kill. And I think that film is very stylish. It's lit really well. And I didn't feel like this was as dark as you think. I felt this was lit quite well, like you're at a pool. And I did like the way that it was shot and lit, actually.
Okay. All right.
But usually these kind of movies, I don't. Usually I think they look like shit because a lot of these smaller budget, little slasher movies are not lit well at all. But this one actually seemed decent.
Good. All right. Well, I'll start with you. Brand new season. What are your spoiler-free thoughts about Johannes Roberts' Primate?
Well, yeah. So I was pretty excited from early hype from friends, and they like Paranormal Activity. They did a similar type of marketing where they didn't really show you much about the film. They just showed people being scared during a screening, which, kind of amps you up. I think that kind of marketing can really work. And it really does work because everything you see in those trailers is literally what the audience does. I was lucky I got to see this at one of those early Monday mystery screenings because, I don't think they had faith that it was going to make its budget back. And I don't even know how much money it made, honestly. But I got to see it with a pretty packed audience. If you've been to those $5 Monday movies, they're usually packed to the gills. And this one was. And it was just 85 minutes of us laughing, jumping, hooting, hollering, screaming about Ben. It was just a blast. Now, is the movie perfect? Fuck no. It's got so many holes and so many flaws. Like, why in God's name did you need to set this in Hawaii? Doesn't make any sense when there is no rabies in Hawaii and you can't even have chimps as pets in Hawaii. They're very strict. I don't know why they wanted, and it was filmed in like Chile or somewhere in South America. So it doesn't look like Hawaii. It doesn't feel like Hawaii. And why they said it was set in Hawaii, I have no idea. And that's a huge flaw. And I know the guy next to me, he's like a Tongan guy, and he's from the Islanders. And he kept laughing. No, there's no rabies on the islands.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
And we get a little tiny line of dialogue from a vet that says, oh my gosh, this certain animal was tested positive for rabies. And then all we get was, there's no rabies in Hawaii, ? And they never answer it. We never get an answer. I mean,
yeah.
I guess they thought that didn't matter. But besides that plot hole, I had a blast with this thing. It was so much fun. And kudos to almost all practical effects, like 99% practical effects, nothing except After Effects, little touches here and there. And we have an actual actor in the suit, and his performance is awesome. I know we talk a lot about Andy Serkis and what he did with Gollum and what he's done with that kind
motion
of
capture, digital
motion
stuff.
capture and a monkey. But man, this guy in a suit looked and felt like an evil chimp. He had the movements down. And I loved that this thing was practical. And the people next to me did too. We were hooting and hollering. And when I say practical, this thing starts off with a gory bang and just gory bang after gory bang after gory bang. It's just so much fun. You got to turn your brain off. Like I said, there are several plot holes and there are some glaring dumb choices, but I did like this. It is a lot of fun. It's not perfect, but if you like a good gory thriller slasher type of film, you got to see this. And most of our community has, and I think most feel the same way I do. On to you. How do you feel about it?
So,
poo-pooing on my parade, or are you joining it?
As a theatrical experience goes, you get the right audience, and this is absolutely like watching Anaconda or watching a really B-movie horror film, right? And just yelling at the screen. Let's be real. This is not the best written thriller. It is a skeleton for these sequences that read good. They're shot good. They certainly make the audience do what the director and the writer want it to do. But I don't know. It was kind of an empty fun house. It's going to be a marginal watch. And I think this is a tough thing because way back when we would get these movies and our reference for films in theaters was television films or television miniseries, right? And then we get to direct to video. And we knew that that was kind of its own thing. TV movie, direct to video, actual theatrical thing. Now with streaming and everything being dumped on streaming, I think where this sort of polarizes me a little bit is this feels like a Shudder film. This feels like something that I should be watching at home, streaming, throwing popcorn at the television. As a theatrical experience, I don't know that it's grandiose enough to be on the screen, right? And I don't know if that's just the curse of Johannes Roberts, because weird story about 47 Meters Down, it was released by accident on DVD, mistitled, and then studio rescued it and then actually theatrically released it, right? And people had deja vu. They were like, haven't I seen this before? Yes, you did. It was under a different title. But does anybody ride a roller coaster and go, well, engineerically speaking, I don't know about that turn? Because quite honestly, this movie's a roller coaster. It's designed to do that. And I think the reason why it's a very soft or marginal watch for me is, again, it feels like a Shudder film. It feels like something perfect at home on Shudder or streaming. You mentioned the practical monkey. I don't know what I was expecting, and maybe my projector at my AMC is darker than it actually should be. Maybe they need some tinkering with it, or the screen is old. But a lot of this was really dark, and if you watch this again, there's a lot of shots where people are reacting, and Ben is in the background, but he's blurred. He's not in sharp focus. And I felt like they were doing that because they knew the monkey looked like fucking shit. That it was a guy in a suit looking awful. The only time the monkey actually looks real and menacing is when it's in its full-on rabies, foaming mouth kind of thing. So that got me. I just did not believe the ape. Every time I was just like, this is a really good horse jockey that they hired to put in this suit. And then the other thing that makes me crazy is that I know Gen Z, okay? They would have picked up a gun. They would have picked up a weapon or something. And scene after scene, these kids are like, what do I do? And they're not picking up anything as a weapon to defend themselves. Like, it's ridiculous. Also, I'm pretty sure Johannes is making very, very clear homages or ripoffs in scenes to giallos, right? Psycho. There's even one that is patently stolen from Halloween, as if the music doesn't remind you of Halloween, right? And so nothing new under the sun. The sequences are pretty good. The gore is brutal. Let me just say this. If you're one of those straight horror fans that just loves anything, especially if there's gore, you will be satisfied. There were times when I was like, was that necessary to see that death like that? And a second point, she sort of stumbles upon the victim afterwards. And I kind of felt like they added the gore, just to skirt that hard R, just to make it more crazy, right? So yeah, it's a marginal watch, because even though chimpanzees are supposed to be smart like human beings, I didn't buy that in the fit of this sort of like rabies, sort of like, fury that he's in, that he wouldn't have acted a certain way in certain sequences. And no way would if he had the idea to play with the person in the car like we see in the trailer. So at that point, when that sequence came, I was like, okay, now I know what you're doing. And it's just kind of dumb now. But like I said, nobody criticizes the roller coaster for not banking its turns at the right angle. True. And making people scared, I guess. So, I'm the poo-pooist. Sorry. But no, it's a soft watch, but you know what? Yeah. I saw so many teens and kids in this, and I was like, I don't know, this is so appropriate for like teens and stuff. But you know what? Horror brings people out. It really does. My theater was packed, and it was a Saturday afternoon. So yeah, what do I know? All right. Anyway, okay, so that was our spoiler-free review on Primate. So as I indicated before, we're trying something new. So rather than having you all listen, stop, and then there's about like 40 more minutes and the algorithm says, screw you, watch Skip Plus. So look for, maybe we'll link it also in this video once the spoilered review episode premieres, we'll link it in the video. But yes, let us know what you think in the comments, right? Please subscribe. Let's get this community going. Let us know how you feel. Are you like Mike? Did you absolutely have a blast with this? Or did the monkey suit kill it for you with me? And I don't know. I laughed and guffawed and thought it was crazy, but
yeah. Turn your brain off and have a good time. That's what I say. Yeah,
do I
it's the guy
have
in the
to
monkey suit.
Do I have to turn off my brain though?
Well, I mean, we can't underestimate how dumb the dialogue is and how almost like he purposely just wanted to make a really dumb, bad teen movie where they just get slaughtered. So I don't know. I had a fun time with it. And I hope you guys too. And for all of you who don't listen to us because you're worried about getting spoiled, you're not going to get spoiled. Have at it. Share this around. Make sure people know that you can watch this without getting spoiled. And then after you see the film, a few days down the line, our newest episode, which is going to be just us spoiling the film, will come out afterwards.
Yeah,
so,
come on back.
For joining us in the
once it hits streaming, spread the word.
Come back again, and then see it. Yeah.
Subscribe, leave comments. I'm dying to know what people think of this. And if you love us, please check out these other podcasts that we love. Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema, Not a Bomb. Those are our podfathers, and we often guest on those sometimes. Night of the Living Podcast, Wild Dream Podcast, Death by DVD, Raiders of the Podcast, Backlook Cinema Podcast with Zoe, our YouTube brothers, and now for something a little bit different, the Two Johns, Caliber 9 from Outer Space with Rob. We're going to have Rob on for next week when we review Bone Temple, 28 years later, directed by Nia DaCosta, who, by the way, not only did Candyman, but did The Marvels, which none of you saw and was a great film. Feminine Critique, Talk Without Rhythm with Goro. Thank you all. Come on back for our next review. And, of course, for the spoilered for Primate. Look for that in our playlist. We'll separate those. All right. See you on the other side, folks.
See ya.